Hi all and welcome. Thank you for joining. In today's webinar, we'll talk about building analytics UI, common problems solved. My name is Teresa Cihelková. I'm a director of technical enablement at GoodData, and I'm going to walk you through today's webinar together with Jiří Zajíc, our principal developer advocate.
Hello, everyone. For those of you who are not familiar with GoodData, our company delivers embedded analytics at scale, helping more than 140,000 companies to achieve their analytics goals and ultimately grow their business. Before we start, let me briefly go over some webinar logistics. All attendees are muted upon entry. If you have any questions, please use the Zoom Q&A box and my colleagues will answer them for you right away. And lastly, a follow-up email with the webinar recording will be sent to all participants in case you would like to return to any of the topics that we'll discuss or share the recording with a colleague. My colleague Teresa will now walk you through today's agenda.
So today, we're going to focus on the typical challenges you might run into when building analytics UI for your end users and how you can solve them with GoodData. That includes deciding whether and how to provide your end users with self-service analytics, how to integrate the analytics into your application, adjust the look and feel so it fits your application, and how to achieve even more customization if needed. So let's get to it. Okay, so one of the decisions you need to make when building analytics solution for your end users is how much flexibility do you want to give them. One extreme would be exposing your database or data exports to them. The good thing is that now the end users can get all the data and do whatever they need with it. The bad thing is that in order to do that, they'll need to understand your data model in detail. They'll need to know how to query the data using SQL or something similar. In short, they will need a lot of technical expertise and time to be able to get value from the data. This might be cool for some, but average business user will be overwhelmed and lost, and probably won't get as much value from the data as you'd hope. Okay, so let's take a look at the other extreme. You leverage your knowledge of the industry and access to diverse customer base and design a set of static reports you think your end users will be most interested in. Now you added a lot of value for the business end users, but your customer success and support department will probably still be getting a lot of requests from your users for custom reports and small tweaks. So how would a solution or a platform that enables you to give your end users both accessibility and flexibility look like? Let me jump into our product and show you what GoodData can do for you in this regard. What you see here is a set of 4 demo workspaces. Workspaces where you organize, analyze, and present data for a specific use case or a client. I'll go into one of the client workspaces. Here, you can see a set of demo dashboards centered around e-commerce use case that were built in GoodData. You could easily build dashboards like these and distribute them to your end users. Doing this would be similar to the second option we were talking about, where you give them a pre-built set of reports. The difference is that the dashboards are not static because your end users can filter, drill down into details, optionally export the data, interact with the charts in various ways, follow drill paths you set for them between dashboards, and so on. This level of interactivity and access might actually be enough for most of your end users. But what if some of them need even more? Well, no problem. In GoodData, you can decide what level of access you give to which of your end users. What I showed you so far was on the level of so-called viewer. With the right permissions, your end users can do much more. For example, they can click on Explore from here on a chart, and it takes them to a drag-and-drop UI that we call Analytical Designer, and which lets them explore the data and build insights. They can start either modifying the existing insight and give it a name and save it as new, or they can start creating a completely new insight from scratch. As they do that, the platform is giving them suggestions. It's all drag and drop, And as you can see, there is no need to do any coding to analyze the data. Also notice this 7 unrelated data items hidden message. The engine is dynamically hiding the data from the catalog here that cannot be logically combined with what I have in the insights already, preventing me from creating insights that wouldn't make sense. Let me give this one a name and save it. Apart from creating their own insights, the end users can also create their own dashboards. Here, they can use the insights that you've created for them. They can use their own insights that they've created, and they can also create completely new insights directly from the dashboard. They can also add filters to their dashboard and so on. Once they are happy with their new dashboard, they can give it a name, optionally share it with others, and save it. One more thing that I want to call out is that the end users cannot change the dashboards that you have created for them. Thanks to that, you can easily update them and release new versions. If you're interested in learning more, you can read more about multi-tenancy and change management features in our documentation. To sum things up, using GoodData, you can easily prepare dashboards and insights for your end users to use and interact with, as well as let your end users explore the data on their own and build their own dashboards and insights. You can control which level of access which users get, and the users don't need to have a specialized technical knowledge to explore the data. Now, before I pass the word to Jirka, who will show you how you can embed the analytics into your application, let me quickly show you how all this works on the background. For that, I'll switch to the parent workspace, which serves as a template for the end user workspaces. GoodData sits on top of your data and queries your data source. In the case of this demo, we're sitting on top of data in Snowflake. Once the connection is working, you create a logical data model in GoodData that will serve as an interface between the analytics and your physical data. The model is where you specify things like relationships between the different business entities, and it's what then allows the users to build analytics using a drag and drop environment without having to write any code, worry about how the data joins together, and so on. On top of the data model, you can then define metrics. These are basically your business calculations, and using them has several benefits. The metrics are reusable. That means that you define how you want to calculate, for example, the net sales once, and then everybody can be using the same definition in their analysis. It also means that if the business logic ever changes, you only need to update it in one place instead of updating it in many different queries. Once you define your LDM and the metrics, which form what we call a semantic layer, you and your end users are ready to start building the insights and dashboards. Now, without further ado, let me pass the word to Jirka, who will show you how you can embed the dashboards into your own application.
What a nice dashboard. Thank you, Teresa. This was really straightforward and easy. Now anyone can create dashboards using the simple drag and drop approach. But unless we want our users to use the actual GoodData portal by accessing the .cloud.gooddata.com, we will need to take a look at some embedding and integration capabilities. Embedded analytics is a capability where data analysis occurs within a user's natural workflow without the need to toggle to another application. I have an application skeleton here. This could very well be your existing application. And there's a blank space between the header and the footer where I'd like to embed the dashboard. The most common way to embed analytics is using an iframe, and it can be as easy as this. Let me click on the 3 dots in the top right corner and choose Embed. I will now click on the iframe option, and I will turn off the navigation panel and custom height, as these are features that I currently don't need. I will click on the copy iframe and move to my Visual Studio Code, where I paste the code snippet. As soon as I save the file and go back to my application, I will see that I have now just embedded a dashboard. We can do the same thing with Analytical Designer. The beauty about this is that users lose none of the self-service capabilities. Everything remains available even when embedded. Unfortunately, iframes can have pretty terrible performance, especially the initial load can be quite slow. Iframes are also not ideal when trying to achieve a deeper integration between the parent application and the embedded content. For example, when I drill into this KPI here, I see that the insight that appeared in a pop-up did not take the full width and height of the page. It only took a full width and height of the space dedicated to an iframe. That's why GoodData offers far better integration options than iframes, such as web components. Web components are a standard way to create reusable and modular HTML elements without using JavaScript framework. Think of them as new HTML tags that can be easily reused in web pages and web applications. Web components are as easy to set up as iframes, yet they are better in both performance and flexibility. Let me comment out the code snippet in embedding an iframe and instead bringing a GD-dashboard web component. This component accepts one mandatory parameter, and that would be the unique identifier of the dashboard. As soon as I save the file, you'll see that I've now embedded the dashboard using a web component. We can notice a nice loading GIF that wasn't there when we used an iframe, and the overall loading experience was faster and felt more native. We can also observe that the web component took enough vertical space to render the whole dashboard. Last but not least, when we drill into one of the KPIs, the pop-up now takes full width and height of the entire page. GoodData offers one more option for analytics integration: React components. React is a popular front-end JavaScript library that GoodData uses internally to build our products. That's why we decided to release our internal React components, such as Dashboard or Insight, as part of our open source React SDK called GoodData.ui. Let me now comment out the web component and bring in the React component. It works exactly the same way as the web component and accepts one mandatory property with the dashboard identifier. This is the most developer-friendly way to integrate GoodData analytics and offers the most deep integration capabilities. And you can use GoodData React components even inside other frameworks environments like Angular or Vue.js. I'll follow up with more cool stuff that is possible with the GoodData.ui React SDK, but for now, I will hand it over back to Teresa. To quickly recap, with GoodData, you can choose from iframes, web components, and React components to bring analytics directly to users' natural workload to make their decision-making as convenient as possible. Terko, back to you now.
Thank you, Jirko. Now you saw how you can integrate the analytics into your application. But the styling is not perfect. The dashboards don't look and feel like the rest of your app. So what can you do about that? In GoodData, you can tweak the look and feel of your analytics with a simple configuration, which I'll walk you through now, and after that, Jirka will show you a few examples of what can be done beyond that. From the homepage, I'll navigate to the settings page and then the appearance section. The first thing I can change here is called theme. This is the main setting I want to adjust to change the look and feel of the embedded dashboards and Analytical Designer. The easiest way to create a new custom theme is to start from a template and then tweak the individual settings. Here I can change the properties like colors and fonts and so on. If I'm ever unsure of what the settings are, it's explained in detail in this linked documentation. Now, for the purposes of the webinar, I prepared a theme ahead of time, so let me go forward and use that. By saving it here, it will get applied automatically to all my workspaces, but I could also apply it to select ones if I wanted to. Let's go to a workspace and take a look at what we did. You can see that the colors and fonts now look differently than they did before. We can also check out the dashboard in the application, and you can see that it now fits much better than it did before. This is great. but it hasn't changed the colors of the visualizations themselves. I'll go to the Analytical Designer to show you where the colors come from. If I open an insight here and go to Configuration, Colors, you can see the color palette here. The different attributes take the colors from the palette in the order in which they are defined in the palette. You can manually override this and select specific colors for your insight here, but what is typically easier than editing individual insights is to change the color palette itself. You can do that back on the settings page. Again, I have prepared a color palette scheme ahead of time, so I'll use it here. Going back to the workspace, you can see that the visualization colors changed as well now. There are other customizations you could also do, like switching the GoodData logo for your own and so on. But since we are embedding and the logo won't be visible, we'll skip doing that. Okay, so now we adjusted the dashboards to fit into your application in terms of look and feel. But what if you still need more customization? Let me hand over to Jirka again.
The styling looks great, and in this last session, we'll take the whole integration experience even further. Remember when I talked about the React SDK called GoodData.ui? It is not just a library of React components. It is also a software development kit that gives you access to raw data using our APIs. This page is also powered by GoodData. It heavily utilizes GoodData.ui, which makes the development so much faster. There are custom attribute filters and custom KPIs, but you can see that some charts were simply brought in from the Analytical Designer in a similar way that you can bring in a whole dashboard. Speaking of dashboards, GoodData.ui can also be used to extend the functionality of dashboards using so-called dashboard plugins. This dashboard is a copy of the original overview dashboard that Teresa created during her part of the demo. With dashboard plugins, there is an infinite number of various customizations. For example, this dashboard plugin groups selected insights into a single widget and allows users to switch between one another. And this plugin implements completely custom visualization where it takes the raw data of the underlying chart created in Analytical Designer, but renders the result using a third-party JavaScript charting library. This particular example is a radial bar chart from the Recharts charting library. And another example of a custom visualization could be the Sankey dependency wheel done with high charts. Both custom visualizations display the same data as the widget next to them, but in a custom way implemented by a JavaScript developer. With dashboard plugins, users don't lose the self-service capabilities. They can still edit the dashboard, the filtering still applies, the dashboard remains responsive, everything behaves as you would expect. With dashboard plugins, you can integrate new tools and workflow into analytics. Another example would be one of our clients. They are a banking institution with pretty strict requirements regarding accessibility. That's why they implemented a custom front-end solution using their own charting library on top of the semantic layer provided by GoodData. GoodData provides self-service analytics for business users, but GoodData is also an API-first platform built by developers for developers to allow for virtually limitless integration capabilities. Terko, back to you now.
Thank you, Jirko. Before we end, let's do a quick summary. If you're planning on building analytics, and especially if you're planning on embedding them into your application and workflows, you should look for a platform that allows you to easily build and distribute standardized content like the dashboards that we saw, allows your end users to build their own content, so do a self-service and discovery, offers modern integration options like the web components, and allows you to match your desired look and feel and potentially go further and customize the UI based on your needs. We hope that you learned something useful in today's session, and thank you very much for your attention. And if you would like to learn more, check out our website at gooddata.com. Thank you for your time and have a nice day.